right here. Hello and welcome to the Networking Partners Spotlight Show. I'm your host, Jimmy Curtin. I am the CEO and founder of Next Level Sales Performance. We help companies accelerate their sales revenue and move to the next level. So today I'd like to introduce my special guest. His name is Chuck Haseman. And Chuck, I'm going to turn it over to you, let you introduce yourself, talk about your background, what you do right now, and we'll kind of go from there. So Chuck.
Well, great. Well, thanks, Jimmy. My name is Chuck Haseman. I'm here in Dallas and have been here for about 40 years now. Came from the Pacific Northwest years ago, and I'm a retail expert. I don't know if anybody's ever an expert, but I am active in retail. I've been doing it for over 40 some odd years, so I guess I kind of know a little bit about it. But came in with Zelle Corporation for 21 years, then moved on to EDS, where I was vice president of the global industry group for retail and consumer product goods. Started my own agency, Haseman Associates, after that, and have been doing that for about 10, 15 years now. And in the process have had the privilege to be teaching and working with the SMU, UTD, TCU, and UNT. And ultimately right now I'm in a faculty position with UTD, teaching marketing, information technology, and retail, focusing on retail with the intent to build out a retail practice. But I still have my consulting practice. We refer to ourselves as the trusted advisor, and that is basically working with retailers in IT. And my focus is the technology. And obviously, we've had a lot of opportunity just recently in this last year and a half with COVID and everything, having to figure out, in fact, if how our retailer is going to exist. But that's me, what I do. Love to help in any way I can, and appreciate the opportunity to visit, Jimmy.
That's great. That's a great background, and certainly I can see how that keeps you really busy. So let me ask you, Chuck, in business, how do you really define integrity?
Well, as my dad used to say, and I know we all had dads. He used to say, integrity is when you do the right thing when nobody's looking. And basically that's, I think that it's down and dirty. What it is, it's just saying what you're going to do, doing what you say you're going to do, being willing to be accountable, being willing to take negative feedback, positive feedback, whatever type of feedback, because you're responsible for what you've been doing. So that's how I would define it. I don't know if that's adequate but it's got me where I'm at.
No, absolutely. That's a great answer, and you hear that that's a fairly common answer among a lot of people, and I think you're right. It really does come down to doing the right thing at the right time, and not having to look over your shoulder because you didn't do the right thing. So let me ask you. So what is the real value proposition of what your company does?
Well, I think I said when I was making my introduction, uh, our goal is to be the trusted advisor. And I'm in a situation where I've been able to work with many, many companies over many, many years. And my business is basically referrals and repeat business. And the older I get, the more very seldom do I have to go out and find somebody to do some work for. Because I've got people on 4 different continents. As I said earlier, having the privilege to work with a little company, EDS, back in its heyday. I spent time in South America, spent time all through Asia, all over North America, Canada, helped put in the Canadian post office system, McDonald's down in Argentina, Coach in Japan, um, uh, Aeon Justco, which is a big chain of stores in uh, Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam, and Laos. And so been around a little bit
Yep.
and met a lot of people. And going back to that integrity question, which you just asked, well, like I tell my students in class, you got to be honest. Always be honest, because especially when you've got a few years under your belt, you sure don't want somebody coming back and telling you something you didn't know about previously when you were fibbing or add, adding, making the story bigger, better, and fancier. And so it's very important to be that trusted person. I think you in sales, et cetera, and obviously as a consultant, we're in sales. I think the two words are interchangeable personally, for a good salesperson.
Right.
And that trusted advisor that people know what they're going to get and how they're going to get it is very important.
Right.
And so that's that, kind of hokey, I guess. What is your value proposition? And I say trusted advisor. And okay, what do you mean? But I really do believe that's what I sell. I get phone call. I just had a call from another nation just last week that we got a project we're going to be working on that is somebody I knew 8 years ago. And I guess another part of my value proposition would be I'm a tire kicker. And I don't know if you know what a tire kicker is, but as a consultant, more of my work these days is change management oriented. And it has to do with somebody's going to buy something, somebody bought something, somebody has something, and they want a trusted advisor to come in and kick the tires and make sure
Right.
they didn't spend too much or not enough, et cetera, et cetera. So that would be who I am, my value proposition.
Yeah, and that's great, and it's you're right about the trusted advisor piece. Everything that I do as far as training and teaching and coaching is all built around trying to position a salesperson in that actual position of being the trusted advisor. Because once you're in that position, that will follow you down the road with that prospect or that customer forever.
Mhm.
I had a previous customer call me that had not done any work with me for 15 years. In
Mhm.
fact, it was in a totally different industry, and called me a couple of weeks ago because obviously have seen some things that I've done on LinkedIn and so forth, and wanted to engage me to do a strategic sales plan for him. And that's after 15 years of no contact.
Mhm.
So apparently there was some trust there, or they would have never have reached out and contacted me at that point. So you're exactly right with that. So in your consulting business, what do you see as the sweet spot for your business? Is there a certain size customer, certain type of business?
Obviously, retail
Mhm. Right.
right off the bat, but yeah, and you know, I'm very blessed. I got into the IT side of retail right when it was just starting. We were slow. People didn't even know what a PC was when I first
Right.
started. There was all these big mainframes sitting in back rooms with a bunch of people eating pizza in the dark, running them, and
Mm.
I got in at the right time. And just recently with this COVID and everything, you know, to a retailer, if they don't have their information technology and the technology up and working in their organization, they're not going to be around. I would love to know who the person was. Somebody, and if somebody hears this and knows, please give me a call. I would like to know who the man was that went to Sam Wall back when nobody knew what computers were and said,
Right.
"Hey, boss, you want to be the big retail dog in the nation? Start investing in technology, because that is what has separated Walmart from everybody else, is how far ahead they are in regards to all the technology they use in the retail process. That's like
Right.
here at UTD, we're teaching, we got analytics, machine learning, computer science, all these, and I come in the door and I say, you guys need to get involved in retail. And most of the kids say, I don't want to be a cash register jockey. I don't want to stand behind a counter the rest of my. And I'm going, guys, I know guys who are in retail that have never even been on the sales floor because they're back to designing the analytics, putting together the technology, POS systems, etc. And that's what I do. Now, to really drill down back to my tire kicker concept, I think change management is what I can bring to the table. Um, I use an analogy of the baseball game, and I tell my students, I go, what's it take to be win a baseball game? And they go, oh, get on the base. And I go, no, what's it take to win a baseball game? Well, you've got to hit a home run. Okay, yes, but what does the home run give you? I get across home plate. So the bottom on any project, change management is really simple. It's a game of baseball. You get up to bat. I know I got a problem. That gets me to first base. I think there's a solution out there, and I've heard people are doing different things. That gets me to second base. I've got an idea of how to work on it. Now, from second to third is a matter of implementing some type of technology, capability, solution to fix the problem and get you to third base. Now, that's where most consultants have the difficulty of closing the deal.
Right.
Closing the deal is to get the buy-in from the company and the people to get from third base to home. Get across the plate, score, you're done. And that's, to me, I'm that guy who's good at helping direct people off of third base and across the home plate.
That's a great example.
I'm very strong believer in the soft side of technology.
Right.
I can find technical gurus all day long. There's a lot of really smart people out there.
Yeah.
But getting them to get the job done, to solve the problem, communicate with whoever they're working for, etc., is a whole nother ballgame. I have basically coined the phrase, the CPR of technology. I don't know if you know what CPR is. It's obviously the heart,
Right.
whatever, whatever. I can't remember. Whatever, resuscitation. But the bottom line is the CPR of technology is communication, people, and relationships. And if you want to keep the pulse going in your business, in your technology, you need to communicate, have people, and relationships.
I
Probably
love that.
longer answer than you were looking for, but
No,
that's kind of what I
that's
do.
great. I love that, the CPR part. That's great. I'm going to remember that. I may steal that and use that.
It's yours to have.
So I know every business, everybody has to do some prospecting. So what's your favorite tool to use to prospect?
Probably well, it's where I've met you in business organizations, networking. Contrary to popular belief, these are not highlights. I've earned all this gray hair, and keeping relationships. I just this morning had a conversation with a young man that I'm mentoring and helping his business get to place. Is little things of being remembered. I don't know how often you share with your sales people you're training, et cetera, but the written note, a handwritten thank you note, a handwritten, hey, what have you been doing? Finding an article somewhere and not just emailing it to them, but taking a red pen and writing some notes on it, putting it in an envelope and sending it. And nobody gets mail anymore.
Right.
If you want to be recognized and you want to be remembered, send somebody a piece of handwritten mail.
Yeah.
And that is such a golden nugget that people, everybody, yeah, it makes sense. Let's do it. But nobody does it. So I take it, I do a lot of follow-up. I have a couple different systems where CRM, where I continually, if you haven't heard from me and I want to do business with you and you haven't heard from me in say 3 months, I'm dropping the ball. So I've got large Rolodex, and for those of you kids on this, that Rolodex is what we used to put our business cards in, and we would keep. Great. Now it's all automated, which is great, but the key is it's again communication, people, relationships.
Yeah, that is tremendous. So what? And I think you might have already answered this from your last the last question, really. But is there a favorite method that you have to stay top of the mind as far as awareness is with your clients, with your students, even?
Personalized, handwritten, thank you notes. How are you? Here's a great article I just read. I've got 6 pieces going out today of articles I've read recently that I know certain executives that's right exactly in their, whatever you want to call it, in their niche and what they want to do, where they're going to go. So that would be, and I wish I could trademark it.
No, you're exactly right. I try to do some of that myself, but I'm also guilty of not doing enough of it.
Oh, we
Uh,
all are. So am I. I mean,
yeah,
I can
I think
sit in here, pretty little computer and say all the right answers, but it's tough. It's tough to have and to have your people do it too is really a challenge because,
yeah,
I'm the old guy, and why do we always have to do it the old way? But you got the right salesperson when he comes back into your office and says, boss, that really works.
yep, yep. Very, very good point. I have a friend, and you may know him from the Business Navigator group, named Mark McIntosh.
Hmm.
Mark owns a company called RevGrow, and I truly think he might be one of the brightest marketing guys around, because he really does use that. Sends out a note, sends out a little gadget, whatever it is, but he does a lot of that, and it really does set him above anybody else that's doing something that, like, in his same marketplace. So yeah, that's great advice. So let me ask you, I know you've dealt with a lot of salespeople. You're a salesperson too. I mean, really, we all are. But
If you got out of bed this morning and you brushed your teeth and combed your hair, you're a salesperson.
that's right. That's right. So how do you know when a salesperson is really doing a great job?
Well, one of and I learned this many years from a guy who trained me. Um, the way I know a salesman's doing it, anybody who works for me, what I pay attention to the most is not how big a sale they have or how many people they're talking to or whatever. It's how many meetings are they setting up. If you
Okay.
go out on a sales call or you work for me and you're working on an account and you go and spend any time with them, the first thing I'm going to ask you when you come back in my office is, when's the next meeting?
Yep.
And I get a few of those. Well, I don't know. I didn't do it. I didn't follow up. But they're going to probably have to go find a meeting to get their next job.
Yeah,
So,
that's exactly right. No, that is so right on.
and it's
I
again, very simple.
It is very simple. I have always in the past, when I'm managing a sales team, is I've always used a thing that I call next step. And so what I do is I look at their sales pipeline, because every salesperson thinks they have to have as big a sales pipeline as possible. I've got to have 100 accounts in there. Well, that's really not true. What I would rather see as a sales manager is I would rather see quality over quantity. And so I always sit down and do account reviews with my salespeople, and I'll say, okay, so you've got this particular account. What's the next step in closing that account? What needs to happen next? And if you cannot identify what that next step is, that account doesn't need to be in your sales pipeline, because it's not going to happen. And if you tell me, well, the next step is I need to do this, then I'm going to ask you, when are you going to do that? And we're going to write that down. And when we have our next meeting, I'm going to ask you, what happened? Did you do this?
Mm-hmm.
And did you close it because you did that?
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you really have a quality sales pipeline. So your answer is just perfect, just perfect. All right, last question. One of my most enjoyable questions is, I like to ask people, what's your best advice that you can give a salesperson for closing more business?
Best advice for be honest
Okay.
and create trust. Now, those are big terms. It's probably not, I don't have a 1, 2, 3 step, and this is how you do it. But closing business is, you have to, you're going to get tired of me hearing me say this: communication, people, relationships.
Yep. Yeah.
And that would be the biggest thing, and the trust and the honesty. I'm not into. I would rather have a salesperson come back to me and say, "I met with." And the other thing is, and I'm kind of jumping off here, but
Okay.
I believe that whenever you make a sale, there's two people involved. We talk about the decision maker. And so when I've got a sales guy who's getting ready to close something, I want to make sure he knows who's making the decision and who's paying for it.
Right.
So you got a decision, and the guy who pays for it is the maker. And you got to be in sync with both of them. There's nothing worse than getting everything all done, looking great. You got the middle manager who thinks what you're going to bring them is the best thing since sliced bread, but he hasn't even talked to the guy above him who's got to write the check.
Exactly.
So when it comes to closing business, you got to be involved with the decision maker, which is two people, not one.
Yeah, that's great advice. Great advice. Well, Chuck, it's been great. I really appreciate you spending time. I'd like to give you an opportunity to let people know how they can contact you. So if you'd like to give some information there.
Well, you can contact me at Haseman Associates is the website. I'm at the university. My email is on both items. It's CT Haseman at Gmail, CT Haseman, and that'd be good. Charles.Haseman at utdallas.edu or C Haseman at HasemanAssociates.com. So
Super.
And I'm in the phone book.
There you go.
Now, for those of you young people, a phone book is this thing you have.
Yeah, we don't get them anymore. I mean, used to you could get excited and run to the front door when they threw it against your door and see if your name was in there. But
yeah, well, you type Charles Haseman into Google or anywhere, you'll get me one way or another.
That's great.
It's because I've been around too long.
Yeah, that's right. Chuck, I want to thank you once again for being a guest on our show, and we really appreciate it. And I look forward to visiting with you some more in the past, or in the future, I mean.
If I can ever be of any help, please let me know. Take care.
You bet. Thank you.